Hello, good evening and welcome. We are in Abu Dhabi at the Marina circuit, ready for the first race of the weekend here for Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East. Fourth race weekend of the championship, and after this afternoon's qualifying, we are set for an exciting encounter on the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix circuit. Well, welcome back everybody. Martin Haven here with the commentary. Down in the pit lane area, you can see the cars getting ready to head out. So drivers making their final preparations to go to the grid, and they will be heading out. The race should start in around 15 minutes from now. So final moments of solitude for the drivers as they get themselves prepared, strapped into the cars, belts done up so tight that you can't inflate your chest fully, and the hands device making sure that in the case of an incident, the driver's spine is protected. But what it means is that it's very hard indeed to turn your head in any direction. So visibility really limited to a little letterbox in the helmet, what you can see out of the front window. You can see the teams, the mechanics with the cars, getting ready to send them out on track. It is a 14-lap race with a maximum time limit of 30 minutes. And so far, we haven't run up to the time buffer yet, but you can never quite tell. Looking here at the car of Josh Berry, and there alongside is Mark J. Thomas, which reminds us that there are three different categories in Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East. We have a Pro category, a Pro-Am category, and a Masters class. And all of those depend on your youth or lack of, your ability, your experience. And so often the youngest drivers, but often the most experienced drivers, the pros and semi-pros, will be in the Pro category. Pro-Am is exactly what it suggests. It's drivers who are perhaps not full-time racing drivers, and the Masters class for those with a few more years ticked off on the calendar. So more laps at the sun than some of the other guys in the pit lane. We have a new name to conjure with this weekend, and for the first time in Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East, we are joined by a driver from Lebanon. So car number 37, it's a dark sort of silver car with red and blue on, and Rawad Saradin is the driver of that car. And Rawad, the first driver from Lebanon to compete in Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East. In fact, the first I've seen in any form of international racing for a decade plus. Lebanon, perhaps not the best known of countries in the Gulf region in the Middle East for producing racing drivers, but they have had a few, and a few with Lebanese roots as well, names that you may well have heard of over the years. Tony Kanaan, the IndyCar driver, and Bobby Rahal's son as well, both racing with Lebanese heritage. Tony Kanaan, multiple IndyCar champion, Indy 500 winner. Graham Rahal, again, race driver, now boss of the RLL sports car team in the IMSA WeatherTech sports car series. And he too has actually raced for Team Lebanon in A1GP some 20, actually closer probably to 30 years ago, back in the early 90s. So we're waiting for the cars to head out. They've been fully fueled and checked over since the qualifying session. And with the tyres for the weekend being limited, a good run in qualifying in Q1 means that hopefully they should have fresh tyres for this race and keeping a set for tomorrow as well. So lots of fans down at close hands, lots of friends and family as well, with an opportunity to see these cars just before they head out onto the grid. Plenty of photo opportunities. And a chance to enjoy some of the Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East's legendary hospitality. But the cars now heading out, led by car number 16, and that's Max Much-Lechner. The white car with the orange and black highlights, that's car number 42 from Team GP Elite, Cedric Chassang. And the yellow and red car, very distinctive DHL livery of Caleb Sumich, the young Australian driver. Now, headlights are on. The drivers probably aren't going to need them, but it will certainly help us spot them from the cameras. Cars heading out. The dark blue car, number 1, Alexandra Vateva. Pink and black, number 66, Robert De Haan, taking the car that Banksy would normally drive. And then the all-silver car with Beamy along the side, Josh Berry, the youngest driver in the field, just 16 years of age. Car number 10, Krista Andero, and Mark J. Thomas, the silver car with the multicoloured blue, red and yellow stripes, the Canadian driver for M3L team. And the cars head out of the pit lane, do a formation lap, and will then arrive at the grid. You can see the light gantry there, same as we will see in Formula One. 5 lights will go on, and then when they go off, all hell breaks loose in the cockpit and at the rear of the car. These Porsche 911 Cup cars, of course, mid-rear engined, as has always been the case with 911, the engine out behind the driver, which gives great traction, particularly from a standing start. And again, on the gantry, you can see 14 laps to go. That is the race distance. And we will have a maximum time limit of 30 minutes. So everybody now out of the pit lane and heading round to the grid. We may get a chance, with a bit of luck and a following wind, to hear from a driver or two as they are on the grid. There'll be a 15-minute period while they are waiting for the start of the race. You can see some of our guests and friends and family, the fans out there on the grid awaiting the arrival of the cars. Safety car driver is out, stretching his legs, and the observer on the left of the car as we look at it. That's the car that will lead them round on the final formation lap before they come back to the grid. So air temperature hovering around 21 degrees. Now the sun has gone as well. The track is starting to give up its temperature. It was around 25, 26 degrees at the beginning of qualifying, but that has dropped down now to ambient air temperature, and that will drop as well. Not to anything ridiculously low. We're not going to be in single digits by any stretch of the imagination, but it will mean that there's not too much punishment from the track surface for the tyres. There's going to be some great content coming out of this, isn't there? Everybody with a phone and everybody taking video. And don't forget, if you want to know a little bit more about the championship, as well as the social put up by the fans, the championship, of course, has its own social media team. So Facebook and Instagram, and on X, you can follow Carrera Cup ME, Middle East, and find out more about the teams, the drivers, the series, the rules, the regulations. You can head to their website, and of course, if you are watching us at the track, you can always catch up with the other races, earlier seasons indeed, on Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East's YouTube channel. And for many of you, that's exactly what you have logged on to now to watch the live stream. So the mechanics trying to make sure the cars arrive in the correct place on the grid. And the drivers trying to make sure, similarly, that they find the crew that they're looking for, the grid spot that they're looking for, and don't end up running over any of the fans. So all quiet. Everybody, almost everybody, has arrived on the grid. Still 3 cars on the way round. But let's take a look at how they line up Robert De Haan from the Netherlands and Taichi Watarai from Japan on row one of the grid. Both 7x7 cars at the top of the pile in qualifying. Caleb Sumich, the DHL team driver, will start third with Khaled Al-Akmadi from the Saudi racing team on the outside of row two. His teammate Saud El Saud is on the inside of row three with Splendid Racing's Alexandra Vateva on the sixth spot on the grid. On row four of the grid, Max Muchlechner, the Italian driver with the very German name, and Cedric Chassang, a real Porsche exponent for Team GP Elite. He's in the Pro-Am class, and he starts in 8th place, ahead of the youngest driver in the field, Josh Berry, the 16-year-old BME Racing driver, 9th, with our newcomer from Lebanon, Rawad Saridin, and he starts in 10th place. And he is the pole sitter first time out in the Masters class, ahead of the experienced Mark J. Thomas and Peter Brecker, who start 11th and 12th. And then on row 7 of the grid, their rivals, Krista Andero and Nikola Petrovic. So that is the grid as they are formed up. So let's see if we can hear from our drivers. Moment of peace. Let's hear from Zara. She should be down on the grid.
Hello everybody, my name is Zara Faruqi and I'm your pit lane reporter and also for your podium. And here I am at the starting grid trying to get a little bit insight of what's going through the drivers' minds while they're starting. So let's move on to our first Q1 winner. And we are here with Robert De Haan. Robert De Haan, you're getting into the zone, who's getting into the mindset of winning the race. If I could just grab a quick few words just to get some insight of how you're feeling so far. So when you're going into the race, what are you looking to keep that mindset, to keep going and be one?
Sorry, you asked me something?
Yes, I'm just asking. Sorry?
What did you say?
When you're going into this race, what's the most important thing that you're trying to do to keep in the mindset to win this race?
Yeah, I could hear you very bad, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to the race. Starting from P1 is the best place, of course. I know what I gotta do, so yeah, just finished the job. My teammate is there on P2. So yeah, we're gonna try let him follow me and get a 1-2 finish for the team.
Thank you so much, and best of luck for the race. We hope to see you back in P1 at the end of the race. Lots of people here, lots of excitement, and I'm glad to see so much energy down here at the track. And Yas Marina Circuit is known for its tight turns, track limits, and also you need to have braking confidence in this track. So best of luck to all the drivers, and excited to see who places top 3 at the end of the race. If we go down, we can go to Caleb Sumich, who won in the last round in the Dubai Autodrome. Caleb Sumich is someone to keep an eye out for because he could be very much the top winner. If I can grab a few quick words. Caleb, how are you feeling about the race so far?
I didn't really hear what you said, but I'm guessing you said, yeah, the race is going to be good. So my goal is to just have a clean start and just try and put pressure on the boys in front and hopefully come up on top.
Great job. Thank you so much, Caleb Sumich. Best of luck. Lots of more action-packed to come soon, and Martin Haven will be able to take care of that, to give you that commentary about everything. But now that's from me, Zara Faruqi, and back to you, Martin.
Thank you, Zara. Always a problem trying to get racing drivers to hear a question. They've got their helmet on, of course, but they've got their earplugs in and their radios on as well. They're not listening to music on the radio. They're listening to the team. So quite often, actually hard to hear the question and equally hard to hear the answer from inside the helmet. But everybody focusing now. This is the moment, the last moment when everybody's on the grid, where the drivers are sort of in a slightly distracted mindset. Then once we get to clear the grid, then they start to really focus. And the key to a good start, the key to a good race is to try and run through in your head exactly what you're planning to happen, exactly what you're expecting to happen, so that hopefully it shouldn't be a big surprise for you. Of course, the first casualty of war is plan A. The moment a race starts, your strategy goes out the window because things happen that you cannot possibly have planned for all of them. So you have to be very much alert on your toes to make sure that you are reacting the situation as it unfolds rather than what you previously decided was going to happen, because that is often not the case. So down here with the Saudi racing team, the green and white of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Saad Al Saad and Khalid Al Ahmadi, the two drivers from Saudi Arabia. And there is the Saad Al Saad car number 3, his teammate, 4th on the grid on the opposite side of the row ahead. Khalid Al Ahmadi had a better run through qualifying. Didn't see them working to tow each other around today as they did last week in Dubai. I thought maybe with the long back straight here, they might try a little bit of that. Gives you plenty of opportunity to punch a hole in the air for your teammate, give them a little bit of a slingshot down the straight. We'll maybe see that tomorrow. The drivers, of course, their first free practice sessions and qualifying on Saturday are the time when they really are discovering the car, working on the car, trying to perfect it. And there'll be more feedback after the race, because qualifying and free practice are one thing. Racing is it's almost a totally different discipline, because it's not just you focusing on the stopwatch, focusing on the ideal racing line, trying to squeeze the maximum out of the car. There's everybody else around you. There's all the other fast-moving metal. And to a degree, that compromises the speed of your car. Unless you're the man in front and you're not under attack, then everything you do is compromised by trying to deal with the cars around you. And so that then means that you need a slightly different car. If you can imagine a downhill skier versus a slalom skier. Downhill, much more about the speed, many fewer gates. Slalom, the skier has to turn a lot more, you use the edges a lot more, and so you require a different ski, different bindings, different boots, different poles, everything. The whole nature of it is different. Qualifying is like downhill, flat out as fast as you can go, and in the race, then there's an awful lot more slalom poles in the way in the form of everybody else, and that's what you have to negotiate. So you need effectively two, quote, different cars. One for qualifying that's all about low weight, getting the maximum out of your fresh tyres, and then in the race, you want something that responds well to your inputs, that turns and brakes well, that's got good traction as well, which you can almost sort of get away without to a degree in qualifying. 3 minutes to go. 3 red lights up on the starting gantry. And then when we get inside the final minute, we will see the 30-second board. And the green flag will wave at the back of the grid as they head off for their final formation lap. The safety car has already departed and the grid has been cleared. So hopefully everybody is set and ready to go. You can see the 2 Saudi racing cars, 4th and 5th on the grid. Red and yellow of Caleb Sumich, the Aussie in the DHL car in 3rd spot. And then the front row, the bright pink and bright yellow and black cars. 7x7 Racing with Robert De Haan at the front of the grid and his teammate for this weekend, Taichi Watarai, on the outside of the front row. And De Haan in the 66 car, for those of you who aren't aware, because its regular driver over the last 2 seasons, Banksy, the Japanese driver, is not able to compete here this weekend because he is racing in the Asian Le Mans Series, and that is a clashing event. So he's in a Porsche, in a GT3 Cup car, but he is not here in a Cup car in Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East. So his place being taken for this weekend by Robert De Haan. 75 years of Porsche Motorsport, 50 years of Walter Lechner Racing's team. It's a big landmark, and 20 seasons plus now racing Porsches in the Middle East. 1 minute to go, the 1 minute board being shown from the starter's gantry on the left hand side of your picture. And the green flag is waiting at the back of the grid. Green flag waves at the front of the grid, the final formation lap before our 7th race of this season's Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East. And it is Robert de Haan who leads Taichi Watarai. Then the red and yellow of Caleb Sumich. The 2 green and white cars, Khaled Al Ahmadi ahead of Saud Al Saud. Cars heading out around this Yas Marina circuit. The dark blue car in 6th place, car number 1, Alexandra Vateva. And like everybody else, the leaders and the rest of the field weaving to try and generate some heat in the tyres. The tyres do not come from tyre warming blankets, as you see in Formula One. Now, almost all forms of motorsport do without artificial tyre heating, and so the tyres go on at ambient air temperature. So they're around 20 degrees when they go onto the car. They've had most of a lap from the pit lane to the grid, but most of that heat will have gone again, and so now on the formation lap, trying to generate heat in the tyres and in the brakes, because unlike your road car, these racing cars, the brakes will operate around 1,000 degrees Celsius, the tyres around 100 degrees Celsius. So you have to use the accelerator and the brake both pretty hard, as well as being pretty vigorous on the steering to try and build that temperature in the tyres and to build the temperature in the brakes. And some of it will bleed away still on the grid, but the better a job you do now, the more chance you have of grip as you get to turn 1. It's a fairly short run off the grid down to the left-handed first corner here as they sweep out of turn 8, turn 9 rather, down through 10 and 11. And then through 13 and 14, coming under the walkway across from the hotel. And then a little short shoot up to the final 2 right-hand corners on the grid, turns 15 and 16. So the last car on the grid, Nikola Petrovic, not quite come into shot yet. And our pole sitter, Robert de Haan, it's always a little bit of a dilemma with the pole, because you're rarely aware of how slowly potentially drivers at the tail of the field might be going. And the longer you sit on pole position, the colder your tyres and brakes are going to be. So the other issue, particularly when you're looking at single seaters like Formula One, is that their radiators, the cooling system, is designed to work at high speed and not while stationary. So they don't have a fan as you would have in your road car to help keep them cool. Well, the following car has arrived at the back of the grid, and the final car goes on to its grid spot, Nikolai Petrovic. We are getting ready to go racing here for the first time in Yas Marina. 5 red lights will go on, and when they go off, we will be racing for 14 laps of the Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East. Some enterprising starting from the back. Good start from Taichi Watarai. Very slow getaway from Robert de Haan, and he's been jumped by Khaled Al Ahmadi. Runs out very wide indeed. There'll be filth on his tyres as he comes on ahead of Caleb Sumich. But a great start from Taichi Watarai from the left-hand side of the grid as the drivers see it. And Khaled Al Ahmadi coming up from 3rd on the grid, from 4th on the grid, I beg your pardon, into 2nd place on the inside. Through comes Robert de Haan. Takes that place back, so de Haan back up to 2nd place. Al Ahmadi in 3rd, Caleb Sumich in 4th, then Saud Al Saud in 5th position as they race down the back straight from corner 5 to corner 6. And under pressure is Robert de Haan, the poleman, as we watch Taichi Watarai. De Haan having to defend hard at the end of the straight, but he now turns into corner 6 and 7, and then it's flat out further back. Yellow flags at turn 6. So we've had a spinner, and And in fact, we've had 3 cars drop back at turn 6. So in the tail of the Masters field. But as we head towards the final corners of the opening lap of the race, it is Taichi Watarai with the yellow and black who is the race leader. Watarai with a string of successes so far this season. First and second in Bahrain, second and first in Qatar. Had a disappointing weekend in Dubai with clashes in both races. And he will hope to fight back from that. Now he's in the lead and his teammate is behind him. And although Robert de Haan does score points, he's unlikely to get too robust with Taichi Watarai. If Watarai's holding him up in the closing stages of the race, I can imagine him making a move. But right now, he needs to regain his composure after fluffing the start. Watarai has looked nothing other than composed in these cars from day one in Bahrain. He'd not raced on these tracks before. He had not experienced the Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East before last year. But right from day one, in last season and this, he has been very competitive. So Robert de Haan in second, Khaled Al-Ahmadi in third place. And Al-Ahmadi was a second behind the pink car at the line. But it does look as though Robert de Haan, much against my predictions, is closing right up on the leader, Taichi Watarai. So they were nearly 7/10 of a second apart at the end of lap 1. They are definitely not that as they sweep around turn 9. Khaled Al-Ahmadi is in third, Caleb Sumich in fourth, and behind them, the other green and white car, Saud Al Saud, with Alexandra Vateva close on his heels. But here is the battle for the lead, and it is a battle for the lead as they come into the tight sector 3 through 12 and then 13 and 14, looping round double left under the gantry and then double right to end the lap. You see the brake lights coming on as they get into corner 15, and the leaders will come across the line barely separated. There's 1 car length between them, and that equates to just about a quarter of a second. And Robert de Haan already starting to show his nose to Taichi Watarai down into turn 1. That's probably not going to happen in cars of such equal performance, and especially given the fact that Watarai, as Robert de Haan, has got traction control, but also critically ABS. But at the end of the straight here now, that might be a different matter. Turning left through corner 5, really important to get a great exit here because it leads onto this long back stretch. Safety car boards are out. Safety car boards are out, so no overtaking for anybody, leaders or otherwise. Now we don't have a car stationary, but the car of Rawed Saridin from Lebanon is going very slowly at the tail of the field. He's a long way back. He was one of the cars that was involved in that first corner incident. So I wonder whether the safety car is out because he is struggling to make it back to the pit lane. The safety car will wait for them on the starting grid. Well, probably at pit exit down by turn 1. But the yellow lights, the yellow flags and the safety car boards, the drivers have seen them all. They are definitely not going at full racing pace. And of course, safety car laps do count. Now, as we saw last week in Abu Dhabi, in Dubai, beg your pardon, this week is in Abu Dhabi. As we saw last week in Dubai, the organisers do have the option to add up to 2 more racing laps to allow for safety car laps, which of course are not effectively racing laps, or they are racing laps on which you cannot actually race. So we'll wait and see whether that is the case. So leaders come across the line. And the other 2 cars that I'm assuming were involved, Peter Brecker, car number 85, and 74, Nikola Petrovic, are still chasing to catch up the back of the queue. But Baron Motorsport entry, Warad Saradin, is struggling back slowly. He's only at turn 9 now. And the leaders are with the safety car at turn 5. So the queue will close up, and our Masters class drivers are now on the back of the pack. You saw Peter Brecker, car number 10 there, Krista Andero, and joining in behind them, Mark J. Thomas, and then Nikola Petrovic. But Rawad Sariadin from Lebanon, still crawling slowly back towards the pit lane. So seeing little bits of debris on the track. Over on the left-hand side by the white line where the red and white stripes become green, you can see there's something, looks like it might be a door mirror. There's something just glinting there down on the right-hand side as well. Now, you don't ideally want debris on the track at all, and especially not in the darkness. So now the safety car queue has passed. There'll be 2 minutes for the marshals to come through a gap in the fence, run over, grab the bits of debris and run back to safety. Whereas if cars are coming round at full speed, then the time that you've got to operate in, even when the cars are as closely packed together as they are now, is very much limited. Now, interestingly, our delayed driver, Rawad Saradin, has not headed into the pit lane and is still going around. He's going around at roughly the speed that the safety car queue is going, so he's not really closing on them. As they come through corner 9, he's barely halfway down the straight. So I'm assuming that the safety car was not because he was creeping back with a badly damaged car to head to the pit lane, because what he has not done is headed to the pit lane. So 14 cars started, 14 cars are still going. Rawad Sariadin going very slowly at the tail, or a long way behind the tail of the field. So Taichi Watarai with the yellow and black just ahead of Robert de Haan. And of course, when they go back and the safety car is withdrawn, they go back to green flag racing, they will be in line astern. So there will be no heading back to the grid for another standing start. And that means when the lights go off on the safety car, that is usually at the end of timing sector 2, so sort of corner 9 here somewhere, then we will see everybody making their preparations to restart. Meanwhile, everybody's weaving. Message has come through that the safety car will come in at the end of this lap. So that debris has been recovered. And again, at the end of this straight, we'll go into corners 6 and 7. And then at the end of the next run down to corner 9. Once they exit corner 9, we should see the safety car lights go out. Not before then, probably. So through this little 6-7 almost chicane, but a little wider than a normal chicane. And then running down through corner 8. And down to corner 9. So I'm sure that from the pits, drivers have been warned by the team. Safety cars coming in this lap. Caleb Sumich really ought to be a little closer to Khaled Al Ahmadi. And Robert de Haan is getting very close to the back of Taichi Watarai. You're not allowed to overtake before you cross the start-finish line. Or the finish line, in fact, rather than the start line, if they're in different places. Lights have gone off on the safety car. The safety car has accelerated away to head into the pit lane. Taichi Watarai closing the field up behind him. And everybody now much tighter than they were before. So Taichi Watarai with the yellow, with the pink 66, Robert De Haan. Right behind him, Khaled Al Ahmadi, then the yellow and red of Caleb Sumich, then the green and white of Saad Al Saad, ahead of Alexander Vateva, Max Muchlechner, and Cedric Chassang. So through the final couple of corners, they will file. And actually, Rawad Saridin has closed right up on the back of the queue as we now go back to green flag racing. 10 laps to go. 9 to go now, so they have not added on extra laps. And here is the lead battle. Taichi Watarai took the lead on the run down to the first corner on lap 1, still has the lead, and immediately he and Robert De Haan jumping away from Khaled Al Ahmadi. And Al Ahmadi with Caleb Sumich close behind him, but not close enough to do much other than be in the mirrors. Out of turn 5 onto the back straight, and was Rob De Haan close enough there? Really wasn't. Taichi Watarai carrying good speed into and out of turn 5, and down the long back straight they go. De Haan not close enough to try anything under braking. Al Ahmadi in third place, nowhere near close enough, and Caleb Sumich too far behind him to be much of a threat either. So attention is focused on these leaders. Peter Brecker, car number 85, the white, black and gold. He's leading in the Masters category. And the white, orange and black, Cedric Chassang in 8th place. He's leading Pro-Am. These are the Pro class leaders. Taichi Watarai with the yellow highlights and with the pink right behind him, Robert De Haan. So 77 and 66 out front, and De Haan almost pushing Watarai through some of these tight corners, but there's no real overtaking opportunity here. He's going to have to be a little bit cleverer than that as they sweep round through 10 and 11. This is single lane racetrack, really. There's no real chance for overtaking out of the final corners. The short front straight beckons, but that's tantalising, really. It's not offering enough of an opportunity in cars that are so well matched, with drivers who are clearly so well matched, because Watarai, though he's using very slightly different lines to Robert De Haan, is keeping up the pace. And De Haan might struggle to get by here. He's showing his nose, coming in tight on the inside, but that compromises his exit on turn 5. And as a result, Watarai has a little bit more clearance between him and the chasing car of Robert De Haan as they come onto the back straight. There is movement behind, though. Looked like Josh Berry trying to pull out of the slipstream of Cedric Chassang, but Rob De Haan not close enough to get by. We'll wait and see if there were changes behind. There were a couple of cars that were side by side, but as they went away from us, unfortunately, the light signatures on every car are exactly the same, because they are all Porsche 911 Cup cars. See the brakes glowing cherry red there as Taichi Watarai punishes the middle pedal. This is why it's so different driving a race car from driving anything else. There are no half measures. You are either effectively hard on the throttle or hard on the gas, or you are wasting time. Hard on the throttle or hard on the brakes, rather. So Taichi Watarai leaving his braking to the very last moment possible, trying to keep the speed up. And you see those ceramic brakes glowing red hot, and of course with the addition of the electronic controls of ABS maximizing the braking, that's making it even harder for drivers to make a personal difference. The more experienced the driver, the more they tend to wind off the driver assistance, wind out the traction control, wind off the ABS interference, and control it more themselves. And that allows them to try and get the most out of the car. And Dahan shows his nose again on the inside. This time he's inside at the apex. Can he stay there? Watarai runs out wide. That'll give him slightly better momentum. They'll be side by side down the straight, getting a toe off each other, a little turbulence, the wake of each car disturbing the other. Dahan's still on the inside. Corner 6 is a left-hander. He is on the left-hand side. Watarai's been very brave going around the outside in corners over the last few weeks, and in fact over the last couple of seasons, but Dahan just manages to wriggle through 6 and 7 with his nose in front. Is that the decisive move of the race? Well, Taichi Watarai thinks not, and Dahan immediately has to go deeply defensive. And Watarai again looking around the outside. He loves to use the outside line and use that momentum. I'm not sure if he understands that there may be places where you can't overtake, because he's certainly demonstrated a number of times over the last couple of seasons that they really don't apply to him. He overtakes other cars in positions where the driver in front is not expecting an attack. And that is one of the secrets of being a good racing driver, is to be persistent, courageous, and inventive. And Taichi Watarai is certainly all of those, as well as quick. And now experienced with these cars as well. But Robert Dahan is our new race leader. 8 laps in the books, 6 to go, including the one we have just started. Khaled Al-Ahmadi in third, the white and green car. Caleb Sumic, red and yellow of DHL, in fourth place. And Saud Al Saud in fifth, the second of the Saudi racing cars, ahead of the blue car of Alexander Vateva in the splendid racing machine. And she is currently in sixth place. Cedric Chassang is just about a second behind her. Max Muchlechner in 8th place now, ahead of Josh Berry. So Chassang did make that pass a couple of laps ago down the back straight. We didn't see it finish, but we did catch the beginning of it starting. And Chassang, the Pro-Am driver, up to 7th place. So you're looking at the first 4 in shot, then 5th and 6th. Little pause, the orange upper surface of the Team GP elite car, marking out Cedric Chassang in 7th place. How far is he behind Alexandra Vateva? He is just about 1.6 seconds, 1.7 seconds now behind. And Vateva, as she did last week in both races, spending much of her time chasing Saud Al Saud in the Saudi racing car. Well, Robert Dahan still only half a second in front at the beginning of the lap of Taichi Watarai, just creeping away a tiny bit in the middle sector. And now that is looking much more like a full second advantage. Let's see as they come across the line. And the gap is out to 1.7 seconds, so he really has laid down an absolute smoker. Fastest race lap for Robert Dahan, 1:55.230 on that last lap, 1:55.87 and 1:56.36 for the 2 cars closest behind him. So Taichi Watarai not able to match Robert Dahan for pace now that the pink car is out front. Onto the back straight they come again. And Robert Dahan with that advantage. Everybody setting faster and faster race laps at the moment, so still plenty of life in the tyres. And the fuel load lightning. 9 laps completed, we are on lap 10. There'll be 4 more after this. And Robert Dahan, now with that advantage, can just manage his pace a little more. He's not as fast on this lap as he was. And Alexandra Vateva all over the back of Saud Al Saud, almost able to turn inside the Saudi driver in corner 9. But if she'd been on the outside, then that would have left her on the outside for turn 10. Not a great place to be. There's Cedric Chassang with Max Muchlechner behind him. And then the car on its own, just there, Josh Berry, the teenager, in 9th position. So Rob de Haan away from Taichi Watarai. Khaled Al Ahmadi in 3rd, the white and green, then a red and yellow of Caleb Sumich in 4th. So the battle now, well, 2 battles actually. Saud Al Saud and Alexander Vateva right here, and this is for 5th place, and right behind them, Cedric Chassang and Max Muchlechner. And that is for 7th position. Chassang in 7th, Muchlechner close behind him in 8th place. And there they are at the tail of that little group. And Saud Al Saud has broken away from Alexander Vateva momentarily. There's Al Saud, there is the dark blue, splendid yachting car of Alexander Vateva. And Vateva, as she did in the previous 2 races in Dubai a week ago, attacking hard, then dropping back for a moment or two, regathering her composure, allowing her tyres and brakes perhaps a chance to just cool down a fraction before going again and trying to create another way to get by Saud Al Saud. Just behind that battling duo, we have Cedric Chassang with the orange, white and black of Team GP Elite, and behind him Max Muchlechner, silver car with the turquoise bonnet. For older viewers, a sort of retro, almost Conrad Motorsports. Franz Conrad's team frequently raced, particularly in Carrera Cup and Super Cup racing, with turquoise, greeny blue and white cars. And Max Muchlechner, there he is a sort of silver and turquoise version of that, a slightly updated version of the livery, if you like. No relation or no contact at all with Franz Conrad, one of the legendary team owners, Porsche racers, way back into the 1980s in Group C racing, when he ran the team and drove cars himself. Drove cars himself well into the 21st century, as well as running teams. Back with Saud Al Saud, keeping a safe distance away from Alexander Vateva, nearly 7/10 of a second. You're going to have to really have a massive lunge to try and come in from that distance back. Then Peter Brecker behind Josh Berry. You just saw Josh Berry on his own. Peter Brecker leading from Chris Randero by about a second at the front of the Masters category. Mark J. Thomas is 3 seconds adrift of them, but Thomas with Nikola Petrovic right behind him. Again, Alexander Vateva, as they get to 6 and 7 at the end of the straight, right up behind Saud Al Saud, but it looks as though either she's got more traction control dialed in and it's just limiting the engine's response, or he is having a better run through 6 and 7 off the straight, because he seems able again to jump away from her through the tight and twisty stuff. That was a little bit the story of last weekend's race as well for those two. So Vateva would frequently get almost to making contact with the back of the green and white car in front, but always at the places where it was safe enough for Saud Al Saud for her to be that close. When it really counted on the straights, he was able to distance himself. Rob de Haan distancing himself from Taichi Watarai. They're now 3.4 seconds apart. Khaled Al Ahmadi in 3rd place, 1.3 ahead of Caleb Sumich. And here, Saud Al Saud, 7/10 nearly, almost exactly ahead of Alexander Vateva. Little gap back then to Cedric Chassang, and Chassang keeping himself out of harm's reach with Max Muchlechner not quite close enough. A little bit like Alexander Vateva in the dark blue number 1 car. Max Muchlechner not quite close enough. to get to Cedric Chassang. I think in both cases, the battle for fifth and the battle for seventh, the chaser is very slightly relying on the hunted making a mistake, which does happen, but tends to happen when you're closer and they're watching the mirror a little, trying to anticipate moves a little. And that's why you'll often see drivers moving around, darting in and out of the mirrors, just to create a tiny little distraction as you get towards the braking zone, maybe just enough for the driver in front not quite to hit their braking mark perfectly and to overrun the corner, to go in too deep, to have to fight the car a little bit for control and give away some speed. And again here, as we get towards the end of the lap, Saad Al Saud with Alexander Vateva hard on his heels. She's got no way of getting through. As to the final corner comes Robert de Haas. And on to the final lap of the race he goes. Taichi Watarai, 3.67 seconds back. And then Khaled Al-Ahmadi for 3 seconds behind him. Caleb Sumich has faded away, a second and a half behind Al-Ahmadi. Saad Al Saud with Alexander Vateva still looking for something on the final lap. So leader Rob de Haan onto the back straight for the last time. And actually, if we hold this shot for a moment or two, we might just see Max Much-Lechner piling some real pressure on Cedric Chassang on the final lap. There's Vateva, they're the next two cars through. Yes, Max Much-Lechner does look closer to Cedric Chassang, so there might possibly be something coming up in the battle for 7th place in the run to the flag. But Rob de Haan a long way clear of Taichi Watarai. And that gap continues to grow. De Haan with a personal best sector one on the final lap. Now starting to really make the car dance. Coming through the final stages of the lap. The checkered flag awaits, unfurled at the finish line. And there is the gantry on the left-hand side. Robert de Haan comes out of the final corner for the last time, or will do in a moment, to take victory here at the Yas Marina circuit. It is race 1 victory to Robert de Haan. And it is a 7x7 Racing sweep of the top 2 places. Taichi Watarai takes second. Khaled Al-Ahmadi third for Saudi Racing, ahead of Caleb Sumich. Saad Al Saud in 5th, narrowly ahead of Alexander Vateva. And our Pro-Am winner, Cedric Chassang, just ahead of Max Much-Lechner as they finish 7th and 8th. 9th at the line, Josh Berry, the last of the pro cars, and Peter Brecker ahead of Krista Andero and Mark J. Thomas. That is your 1, 2, 3 in the Masters category, with Nikola Petrovic in 4th in the Masters and Rawad Sariuddin in 5th position in the Masters category. And Rawad also earning points in the GCC classification. We're rather hoping, as I'm sure he is, that James Wallace is fit and healthy enough to be in the car tomorrow. After being really unwell for the last couple of days, James Wallace didn't qualify, practice or race today, which is absolutely a shame for him and the series. Had a good race weekend in Dubai, won race 1, and actually would have been on the podium in race 2, except they had a single lap green flag racing after a safety car, and as he challenged for the lead, he actually took the lead by going off track and did not give it back. So a 5-second mandatory penalty was added to his time. Because it had come off a safety car, that was enough to drive him from what was first at the flag to 11th place. By the time 5 seconds had been added to his time, he'd plunged right down the order. But still an enterprising weekend for James Wallace. And so hopefully there might be a chance of him racing again tomorrow. And you think, well, how bad can it be? Even if you're not feeling great, you can still sit in a car, surely. The problem is, yes, you can sit in a car. This is not sitting in a car. This is driving a very high performance race car to the absolute limit for half an hour of sweltering mental and physical pressure. And that is not lightly undertaken. So your winner, Robert De Haan, Taichi Watarai on the right-hand side of the shot with the yellow highlights. And coming in behind is car number 23. Saud Al Saud headed in the wrong direction. That was the wrong Saudi car. 23 on the left in position 3. So congratulations to all. Another entertaining, and I'm sure for all of the drivers, thoroughly punishing race here in Abu Dhabi. So Robert De Haan and Taichi Watarai both climbing onto the 77 car. There you go, the teammates 1 and 2. And Khaled Al Ahmadi finishing in 3rd place. And that is Al Ahmadi's 4th consecutive podium and his 5th of the season. So Khaled, again, absolutely stacking up the points with each outing. Not quite as many, it must be said, as Taichi Watarai. And Watarai not on the podium in either race in Dubai, but has certainly made up for that here. And there is Khaled Al Ahmadi. And Taichi Watarai with 1st and 2nd in Bahrain, 2nd and 1st in Qatar, 7th and 12th after a fairly bruising pair of races in Dubai Autodrome last week, but back to his best, 2nd on the grid, led early on and then hanging on to 2nd behind Robert De Haan. Now, Zara will be handling our podium ceremonies as well. So this time, when she wants to ask the drivers questions, they will at least be able to hear her, as you saw them all taking their helmets off, their earplugs off. Drivers get weighed after the sessions as well. So after qualifying, there is a driver weighing. So a little bit like horse racing, drivers are in different sizes. Not all drivers are the same sort of size as a jockey in a horse race, but you will quite often carry weight if you have on a horse, if you have a lighter rider than a heavier one. And that will be the case here as well. Robert De Haan and Taichi Watarai then 1-2 on the grid, 1-2 in the race ahead of Khaled Ahmadi, the final podium finisher. Then in 4th place, Khalid Sumij, ahead of the battle between Saud Al Saud and Alexander Vateva. Al Saud again, stalwart in defence against Vateva. She is going to have to figure out a way of getting through. Pro-Am winner, Cedric Chassang, ahead of Max Muchlechner, who had a very strong run at him at the end, but couldn't retake the place. Then Josh Berry, the last of the pro drivers in 9th, ahead of our Masters winner, Peter Brecker, with Chris Randero and Mark Thomas completing the Masters podium ahead of Nikola Petrovic, who joined the series last week, and Rawad Saridin, who has joined it this week. So Barra Motorsports dipping their toe into Porsche waters. And Robert De Haan and Taichi Watarai claiming the top 2 places for 7x7 Racing. So they are the winning team of the weekend. And so our first race of the weekend done and dusted. Let's take a look at the highlights. With the sun down below the race got underway, and an excellent start from the outside of the front row saw Taichi Watarai take the lead, and Khaled Al Ahmadi from 4th on the grid moving up into 2nd, but Robert De Haan quickly moved back into 2nd place. and after a brief safety car period, piled the pressure on his competitor and race-leading teammate to take the lead. Further back, Saad El Saad holding off Alexander Vateva for at least the third race in a row, and the Pro-Am winner hanging on to 7th place, Cedric Chassang, as Robert De Haan won the race by a comfortable 4 seconds from Taichi Watarai. 7x7 Racing locking out the top 2 places on the podium. Peter Brecker was our Masters category winner, and Robert De Haan, the race winner, first time out. Well, De Haan has been advising some of the drivers on getting the most out of their cars, and now do what I do as well as what I say can definitely be his watchword. He might have to take some advice from some of his pupils on how to get away from the grid quickly enough. He might possibly want to speak to Taichi Watarai and see if he can learn some of the Japanese driver's secret, because while De Haan did not make the best of starts, Watarai went away like a scalded cat. So the great light display on the side of the building there at the Yas Marina, on the roof of the building. That's not the side, is it? That's the top. Always entertaining to see racing at night. The darkness surrounding the pool of light that illuminates the circuit always helps to focus the attention on the cars. Do love nighttime racing. And it doesn't happen that often, even in the Gulf states. Dubai 12, the Gulf 24. That's Robert Lechner, whose Lechner Racing Organisation, run with his brother Walter Jr., running this Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East since it was a sprint cup. Nearly 20 years of involvement with the Bahrain International Circuit. Khaled Al-Ahmadi on the left, Saad El Saad in the centre, and Cedric Chassang on the right-hand side. And Khaled, as you can see, everybody hydrating. It is hot work. Chris Trandero on the right there, and Peter Brecker on the left-hand side. And our newcomer, Rawad Sariadin, in the centre of the shot. So Peter Brecker from Czechia, the Czech Republic. Our Masters class winner from Chris Randero, and Mark J. Thomas will join them on the podium, as has often been the case in the past. Still a really lovely evening in Abu Dhabi. Very pleasant temperatures. And the mechanics will have an opportunity to put the cars to bed, but might need to do a little bit more work because it is an early start tomorrow morning. Qualifying will begin at 11 GST. That is 0700 GMT. It does mean that luckily there's no damage to speak of, or not much damage to speak of. There was a little bit of debris on the track, a couple of mirrors, looked like maybe a headlamp as well, but not too much damage, hopefully for the various team mechanics to sort out. Taichi Watarai, and closer to us, Robert De Haan, waiting for the podium. Shouldn't be too much for the stewards and the race director to sort out. No question, I don't think. No, there's been no official messages at all since qualifying finished, so we shouldn't have anything to investigate. can look at the relative heights of our three drivers. Closest to us on the right-hand side of your picture, Khaled Al Ahmadi. On the far side with the yellow highlights on his black overalls, Taichi Watarai. And then Robert de Haan. Robert de Haan, very much, how can I say this without being insensitive, a Dutch sort of height. The Dutch famed for being particularly a tall nation. And Rob de Haan, very much not single-seater driver height. He must be getting close to 2 meters in height, and that does not tend to fit well into single-seaters. In a GT car or sports car, however, that is a very different proposition. So some friends and family gathering, waiting for the podium ceremonies. Did see a microphone, so sensing that Zara is poised, probably being handed a list of everybody who is handing out all the trophies. And who should be on the podium as well, which is always useful. It's not always a given. What you see is not always what you get. Ask me how I know. But I think in this instance, I think what we see is exactly what we get. So just thinking about tomorrow again, for those of you who are watching the live streaming, particularly 1100 Gulf time, which is 0700 Greenwich Mean Time, will be on a little before that, 15 minutes in advance. So 0645 Greenwich Mean Time to build up to qualifying, 30 minutes of qualifying. Then it'll be time for, well, I was going to say lunch, but brunch really. 11:30 to 1:30. I suppose that is sort of lunch, late lunch maybe, early lunch maybe rather, late breakfast, something in between. And then cars will leave the grid at 1:30 local time, and that is 09:30 Greenwich Mean Time. At that stage, we will be coming up ready for the start of the race at 1:50 local, and that is 09:50, so we'll be up just after 09:30 Greenwich Mean Time for race 2, the final action here from Marina for this Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East weekend. We'll wait and see in the morning whether James Wallace is in any state to be driving a race car. I'm sure he will take no chances with that, much as he would like to be back in harness. Didn't have a chance to practice, qualify or race today because of sickness. Hopefully, with a little bit of medical treatment and a good night's sleep. You never know. James, as last year, joined Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East after the season had got underway. He didn't race in Bahrain or Qatar. He was our race 1 winner from second on the grid in race 1 in Dubai, and could have, should have finished on the podium in race 2 as well. But after gaining the lead off track from Caleb Sumich, decided not to give the place back, which in the end turned out to be a fairly fundamental flaw in the strategy.
Announce our winners today. It was a brilliant race. Thank you, Martin Haven, for commentating on that. And I'm here standing with our champions right behind us, excited to announce the winners for today. The crowd, the spectators here were brilliant. The vibe down here at Gas Marina Circuit was just absolutely thrilling, and I really enjoyed every bit of the race. Lots of action happened down at the racetrack. Safety car came out, and a tight, close match between our top three. But excited to announce everyone, and there is such a great crowd down here. Let's take a look. Everyone was brilliant, smiling, and just so many happiness and so many supporters here, team managers, teams, and other crowd that just came here down to support the Porsche Carrera Middle East Cup 2026. So now we can get started with our top three overall winners. Who's ready for some action to see who the top three are? So we start off with our third place winner. We have from Saudi Racing, Khalid Al-Hamadi. Let's give it up. He is a man that has been on that podium before and is brilliant when it comes to driving. Just so much precision when it comes to his driving skill. Moving on to our second overall winner. It's from 7x7 Taichi Watari. Big crowd, big applause for the team and for Taichi. Now we come, Taichi is not only just the second place winner, he is also our rookie winner for today. Well done, Taichi Watari and 7x7 for that. Now, moving on to our first place winner, and this driver has performed so well. Today he came on the track for the first time. It's Robert De Haan from 7x7 from Netherlands. Big win for 7x7, having two of their drivers on the podium. Well done. Congratulations to all three drivers and all the teams out there for today's race. Now, if we can please call up our dignitaries to award our top three, starting with our P1, Mr. Wissam Khalil, General Manager of Porsche Center Abu Dhabi, Ali and Sons. Awarding Robert De Haan from Netherlands, 7x7. Well done. Big cheers for all three drivers on the podium today. Going on to our P2, we have Marcus Peter, the Marketing Director of Porsche Middle East and Africa. And now we move on to P3, our Sales Director from Splendid Yachting, it's Ernst Nassel. Awarding our P3, Khalid Al-Hamadi from Saudi Racing. And now we introduce the Pro-Am winner for today. We have from France, Cedric Jassang. Please join us on stage. He is the Pro-Am category winner. Well done. And he will be collecting his award from Mr. Wissam Khalil, General Manager of Porsche Center Abu Dhabi, Ali and Sons. Now, if we can all give a moment to listen to the Netherlands anthem for our winner, Robert De Haan. So let's all take a moment to listen to that. And also to just decorate our rookie winner, Taichi Watari, can we please ask Mr. Muhammad Al-Hashmi to come and give Taichi Watari his rookie award. Brilliant drives and brilliant racing happening today down at the Yas Marina circuit. Let us all take a picture together to celebrate our winners for today's race. Let's give it up for them, everyone. Let's give applause. Cheering for them. Lots of family, team managers, friends, and team support coming from down here. Brilliant to see the supporters for the Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East 2026. Well done to all our winners, and congratulations to everyone out there for today's race. If we can now take one picture for our top three, and they can celebrate in style. Thank you so much. They're following. Coming back to the thing, we have now other categories to announce. Lots of winners today, but congratulations, everyone. Well done for all of that. Now moving on to our third category. We have Masters. We have Mark, in our third place winner, we have Mark J. Thompson from M3L. Let's welcome Mark J. Thomas from M3L team. Apologies, Mark J. Thomas. Every time I mess up his name, but he's a big champ and a big good sportsman to keep that going. Going on to Masters in the second category, it's no other than Krister Andero from MTech Competition. And in our first place, we have from GD Sports Technology, Peter Brecka. Big fan club down here in the crowd for Peter Brecka. Our Masters category. Now we can award these Masters category. Let's start off with our P1. We're welcome back Mr. Wassam Khalil to give us our P1 his award. Going on to P2, we have Marcus Peter, who's going to give our award to Krister Andero. And then P3 for Mark J. Thomas, we have Ernst Nassel, the sales director for Splendid Yachting. Show those awards. Well done to the Masters category. Congratulations. And we will take a group picture now. If everyone wants to step up, perfect. Big smiles from these amazing gentlemen drivers who've done such a great job in today's race. Congratulations. If you would like to make your way through here, we can go on to the next category, the GCC category, which is a very important category in the MENA region because it's great to have these GCC drivers really promote motorsports in this region. So let us call up our third place. We have Rawad Saradin from Baron Motorsports. Joining the race today in Abu Dhabi. Well, congratulations, Rod, for coming third place in the GCC category. Moving on to our second place, we have from KSA Saudi Racing, Saud Al Saud. Great to see people coming from Saudi Arabia to participate in the Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East, and great to see that motorsport in the MENA region. Now, going on to our first place, we have again from Saudi Racing, Khalid Al-Hamadi. Apologies. Khalid Al-Hamadi was also our overall third place winner in Saudi Racing, and he has been on this podium several times before. I saw it in Dubai, and to see his race and his driving is brilliant. Going on to our P1, Mr. Wissam Khalil from General Manager Porsche Center Abu Dhabi and Ali & Sons to give our awardees his award. Going on to our P2, if Mr. Marcus Peter, the Marketing Director of Porsche Middle East and Africa, to give our P2 winner his award. Lastly, Ernst Nassel, the Sales Director of Splendid Yachting, to give our new GCC category winner the P3 award. Thank you so much for your participation. Would love to see more GCC drivers in this category, but well done to all three of you. Now they can come back and we move on to a very special award. Motorsport isn't just a solo sport, it's a team effort. So many people behind the scenes to make sure that the drivers go out there and are safe and enjoying the race. So we welcome the team winner who had 2 podium awards today. It is no other than 7x7 from Japan, and from representing 7x7 we have Sunji Lee. Sunji Lee, let's go! He has 2 drivers on the podium today, Robert Dehaan and Taichi Watari. They're going home with 2 big awards, but now also the team winner award, which is such a big thing. So to give our team winner award, we have Mohammed Al-Hashmi, Motorsport and Community Engagement Programs Manager, to decorate our team winner for today's race. Big congratulations to 7x7, going home with a big smile and a lot of awards to carry also going back home. Well done, congratulations. It's a team effort. They're gonna go home and celebrate and get ready for tomorrow's race because there's still another day of racing to come. Well done, congratulations. And Robert Dehaan, if you don't mind, I would love to catch a quick word from you. It's been a big day for you. You won first place overall, and how does it feel to take that win home today?
Yeah, it's good. You know, we worked hard for it as a team to be fast this weekend together with Watserai. Yeah, we just did what we had to do in the race. You know, we brought both cars home in P1 and P2, and especially for Watserai's championship, it's very important. So yeah, really looking forward to tomorrow. Another qualifying, another race. So let's see what we can do.
And when it comes to the Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East, what makes this series so unique in your opinion?
Well, it's a good preparation for drivers that want to go into Carrera Cup or even Porsche Mobile 1 Super Cup starting later in the year. And as this is a kind of winter program in the Middle East with nice temperatures, I think it's a very good way to prepare yourself for an upcoming racing season.
I know your name is familiar in the Porsche Carrera Cup world. Everyone knows who you are. And to come back here racing, thank you so much for joining us. You proved yourself to be amazing at the race today. Hopefully we'll see that also tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure, we'll do my best, and hopefully I can be on the top step again tomorrow.
No pressure. But thank you so much, Robert Dehaan, and congratulations for your win. Congratulations to the team. It has been amazing to see all these drivers come together, and really appreciate all the crowd here to support us today. Now, when it comes to the Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East, we would love some more support on our social media channels. Follow the YouTube at Carrera Cup and Middle East, and then follow us also on Instagram for Carrera Cup Middle East to get some BTS and behind the scenes for everything. Thank you so much. I'm your podium award winner called Zara Faruqi, and thank you for having me today. See you tomorrow.